Hey guys, Mike here from Sell Your Service, and I am with Hans Skillrud from Termageddon. Hans, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, man. Thanks for asking. So we met when you came over to the UK on like a kind of a wing and a prayer, and you you were just hanging out at the pub, and you were like, "Yeah, I figured I'd come over." Tell us how we met because it's such an insane story.
So I had just sold my web agency of 7 years, buildthis.com, a 12-person web agency in downtown Chicago. And I just sold it, and I was doing some research for some outreach with this program I have going now called Termageddon. And I got connected to agency Trailblazer and then Lee Jackson, and I was on the website. And like that little pop-up, like, do you want to chat with Lee? I'm like, no way is this real. So he was like, all right, hey, what's up, Lee? And he's like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, and we got to talking. So one thing led to another. He was having an event in like 5 days in Wellingborough, England.
That's correct.
I got to England, let alone Wellingborough. I decided, you know what? This is like the first time in my life I have nothing to do. I'm just going to go. And I did. Right when I landed, I got into Wellingborough eventually through some train rides, and then I was at the bar and I met Mr. Smart, Paul Smart, and then I met another Paul, and then
Cowan was there, Dan as well.
And then you showed up, and you were just super high energy right from the gate.
Yeah.
Like, you got in there, and you're just like ready to go. High energy, and I loved every second of it. We had a great night that night.
And then it turns out that you run Termageddon and kind of as we got talking, and it was really interesting because everyone at this event was an agency owner, admittedly UK based, but Termageddon is a privacy policy generator designed predominantly for the US. That's right.
That's correct. And since that event at Agency Transformation, we received quite a few UK-based agency signups.
Wow,
so
that's interesting.
We were planning on launching like UK compatibility like in like 8 months to 12 months, but we are bringing that down. We're going to launch it sooner than that.
No way.
So, and it's just like the response has been phenomenal. And I really felt like our competitors, like Termageddon, obviously we're not special in the fact that like our product is really what a lot of other competitors are doing. What makes us special, in my opinion, is that we are solely dedicated to agency partnerships.
Yeah.
That's our DNA. Like we want to pay agencies rather than pay Google for exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So we partner with agencies, give them their own free set of policies for their own website, and then we pay them commissions, recurring commissions, so that agencies can generate a new recurring revenue stream by discussing the importance of policies, privacy policies, terms and conditions, and so forth. I just kind of went on a whim there, but yeah, with our program, we are going to be UK compatible probably within 2 months. So that's like what we're pushing it down to, since we got so much of a great response from the UK market, and everyone's so nice there too. I had so much fun in England. It was awesome.
We can be all right. I think it's interesting the group of people that you met. There's a reason that I love. It's easy to say I love talking at those events, but I have spoken at events where I've been like, I don't really get these guys. And this is a group of people. I'm like, wherever they're going, I want to go as well, because it is just a really friendly bunch of guys and girls, of course. And it was interesting, kind of when you brought up what you do. People I was surprised kind of listening in, like just how receptive, and I've seen a lot of the stuff on Facebook and you talking about through those privacy stuff. I think a big thing that helps you guys is your thumbnails on your blog. Those are off the chain. That's like 90% of it, right? But the biggest thing for us, especially in the UK and kind of Europe, is this whole thing about like GDPR, right? Mm-hmm. Frankly, I'm fucking sick of talking about it, but the policies and the terms and generating stuff, because for a while everyone was into collect as many email addresses as you can.
Yeah, the Wild West, baby.
Right. And now it's like, no, you need to have policies and stuff in place. From what you've seen as both the kind of the agency owner side and a business owner and someone now involved in this side of it, have you seen that it's like more difficult? Where have you seen the changes in just like lead generation through email addresses, and where does that go? Because that's kind of the way that everyone wants to go with their websites now.
Well, I think today we are experiencing the in-between. We're leaving the Wild West of businesses can just collect your information and they can put it in a vault and just store it for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Like we're leaving that era, and now we're entering a new era where it's like, no, you have to be responsible. You have to allow people to remove their information if they no longer want you to own it or have access to it. You as a company need to tell, hey, this is how long I'm going to hold your information. So I think we're in the in-between phase where for us it's really challenging to mentally get over the hump of something we just took for granted. We just collect leads and we store it to like, no, they are not available like that anymore. And what we're going to see like come 5 years from now, we're going to be looking back at these times and being like, man, it was still kind of the Wild West because like not everyone was getting into trouble for this and stuff. But, that's what we're going to see 5 years from now. We're going to have all the tools in the world to manage this process internally and everything like that. And with GDPR, it goes beyond just websites, obviously. Yeah. To be fully GDPR compliant, a business has to, uproot a lot of their internal operating procedures and possibly even staff additional people. So yeah, I mean, it's, Termageddon is one small piece of that bigger pie.
And a lot of it as well is, again, from Termageddon's point of view, is just making it, it's interesting because you actually have what we would call a solicitor, but a lawyer, like a litigator, actually write the policies, right? And that's the bit that as a business owner, we're constantly being hammered, make sure you have litigation and documentation. I'm like, I build marketing funnels, dudes. I don't know any of that, but you've actually got someone doing that. And that's kind of the bridge, right?
Yeah, my fiance is the president of the company. Her name is Donata. She is an information privacy specialist and an attorney who teaches GDPR best practices to attorneys here. And we live outside Chicago, at the Illinois State Bar Association, which is the entire entity that oversees lawyers in Chicago or in Illinois. So yeah, the backbone of what is generated when you answer the Termageddon policy questions is they are generated from, and that was originally written by attorneys. Now, I will note, though, we never promote ourselves as a law firm. In fact, I'm saying out loud, we are not a law firm. Yep. We are a technology company. And I always like to say, just like how Uber is a transportation or a technology company, not a transportation company. We wave the same flag in that sense. When it's said and done, I think, Termageddon is a solution for many, but not all. I think if you're Google, going to Termageddon's a joke. But if you are a small business owner and maybe you've made some money and you're wanting to protect your liability, like that's a good reason to get terms and conditions. If you want to represent yourself professionally, that's why you should have a privacy policy. And the web agency owner, it's really simple. When a website collects an email address and a contact form, suggest a privacy policy. You're going to look like a genius because you're going to look like a very professional web agency by identifying this is personally identifiable information. As a web designer, I'm going to tell you should get one. And if the web designer is like, well, tell me about how GDPR works, you'd be like, no, I'm not an attorney. That's not my job. All I know is that your contact form. You want a contact form? Great. You also need a privacy policy. And that's why I think a solution like Termageddon is just it's a fraction of the fee, and it automatically updates whenever the laws change, being a critical component.
Yeah. So there's two parts there. I'm really glad you brought the first one up. And this is the thing that I perhaps become most frustrated with a lot of marketers is they see this as a massive barrier. And I'm like, this is a huge recurring revenue and upsell opportunity for you to be able to install this. And it should really just be a part of the package, right?
Yes.
And then the second part is you said that Termageddon actually also, it updates as the law updates, right?
Yep.
How does that work? Like you guys update it and then it just pushes it through to whatever I've embedded on the site, or?
That's exactly it. Yes. You embed a code rather than copy and paste content. So we at Termageddon can still control what gets displayed on the client websites. And since they filled out all the questionnaires to get that code, we can control, okay, well, this law, Texas now has two bills out that are very similar in nature to GDPR. so like when we push that Texas update, we automatically push the updates to the policies, and then maybe even send out a question like, hey, you need to answer this question in an email, and you click one or the other to update your policy.
That's cool. And I like a lot of the way that this is being automated. It's also a little bit of a glimpse into the future of where a lot of the litigation and legal stuff is going to come in. A lot of it's going to become automated, potentially even just with the machine learning and AGI kind of writing and updating a lot of this stuff for us.
So yeah, the business side of me hopes that we remain stupid as a society, and that every state has their own set of data privacy laws, and it's just a logistical nightmare, because then I will make money. As a human being, I think it's a joke, and that we just need to have one law so that everyone can have a consistent message, and it's simple. Life is simple. So that's what I hope for as a human, and that is genuinely what I hope for in actuality. But what we're seeing within the last 6 months, we've had, I think, 13 new bills here in the state, in the United States, that are being proposed to protect the citizens of individual states, meaning those individual citizens will have their own individual set of rights, and they can sue businesses outside of their state, and they could sue businesses in Europe in theory. So it's going to become a logistical nightmare, and I think you're exactly right. There's going to be automated solutions, because that's the only way to keep up with it. And even if you were to keep up with it with an attorney, my gosh, is that going to be expensive? Boy. And by the way, one of my favorite things, as you know, is picking up on the slang differences.
Yeah.
What do you call an attorney? A solicitor?
Solicitor. So yeah, so in the UK, a lawyer, you would know what the term is if I said, oh, someone's a lawyer. But typically, and I don't know the specific, I should know because my brother's one, we have solicitors and we have barristers. And I'm sure someone in the comments will type out the difference. Yeah, we don't really have, we have power of attorney, which is weird, but we don't have attorneys. But yeah, we typically have solicitors and barristers. So solicitors typically are, I think, what most people would call an attorney in the States.
Interesting. Yeah. Solicitor means something very different for us.
Door-to-door sales.
Someone who knocks on a door and tries to sell you knives or something like that.
And we call that solicitation.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So, yeah, I don't know. But our this is way out of this. I don't care. It's fine. This is way off grid. Our legal system is actually, yours is kind of insane as well. I think most countries' legal systems don't make any sense to the people who live in that country. It just seems, so far removed. But ours has got some really bizarre little quirks and stuff. I guess that's what happens when you're a 1,000-year-old country. So tell me, let's getting back to the opportunity side. Let's say as an agency, I've got a few customers already that I've built sites for, and I think they really should have a privacy policy. As a business owner, my first thing is more paperwork, right? How do I, as an agency owner, kind of position this as something that ultimately I can sell to them? How do I, and maybe Termageddon comes in there as the solution provider? Yeah,
so I think there's definitely a difference between communicating the value of privacy policies to your clients of the past, present, and future. Do you, as a web agency owner, have an obligation to reach out to your clients of the past and advise they get a privacy policy? Boy, there's nothing to say. There's no data to support yes being the answer to that question. But I think data, that's the thing about data. Data will change. I think times will change, especially here in America. That a business gets sued for not having a privacy policy. As a business owner, I might be like, well, that web agency owner never told me to get a privacy policy, so I'm suing them. So to me, it makes complete sense to reach out and communicate the importance of privacy policies, because one, you might be protecting yourself in the future. Two, you're staying on top of stuff and you're showing clients that you care about their safety and security. And then three, it continues your messaging that you are a professional web agency. So to me, it just makes so much more sense to reach out to your clients of the past and inform them of the importance of privacy policies than to just be like, oh, I'm just such a busy human being. I just can't do anything else in life. Okay. So, and the cool thing with Termageddon is we have two ways to do it. One, within the agency dashboard, once you register, we review the website, and then we give you a free set of policies for your own website. And then you also get access to our wholesale rates. And then when you buy an install to sell it to your clients, you can actually share that install with your client. So all you have to do is add the install and click share, and then your client gets the email saying, hey, fill out this questionnaire, and the client fills out all the answers, and then you just copy it to the site. So that makes it easier to maybe do more bulk communications.
Yeah.
And then we have a retro sales program that for agencies that would rather have us at Termageddon pay the agency for referrals, meaning the client comes to us rather than comes to them to pay for the service. When a client comes to us through Termageddon.com, we have a program called the Retro Program to help agencies sell the clients of the past, where we give you a set of copy to send through an automated email to send.
Do you really?
Yeah.
No.
And it's doing very, very, very well. We're converting at over 60% right now, which is for over 10. It's going really well, and we have fun copy, and you can override our copy and stuff. But yeah, I think this is a name drop, but it sounds like Funnel Packs is a very similar outlook. And so one of the agencies I was talking to about the retro program, they're like, "Oh, this is like Funnel Packs." I'm like, "Oh, what is that?" And then I did some research. I'm like 1 degree away from this guy. Like, this guy is blowing up. So
I'm gonna get Matt on the show. Matt's a long-term friend of mine, and he released this, and he was like, yeah, funnel packs and stuff. And that's the way that I think the majority of the industry is going, a huge amount of right. So it's interesting that you've got that, because I think that makes sense to provide people with that. I was sitting there thinking about because all I was trying to do, I'm an agency owner by heart, I was just thinking, how do I solve the problem? I'm talking to my clients, which are now agency owners, and they're like, Hans, I'm selling this to all my clients that I'm currently building sites for. I plan to sell it to all my clients in the future. And that's all I really want. For me, that's the best. But I was like, I've been asking, why haven't you reached out to your clients in the past? You got 100, or you got 50, you got 500. They're like, well, I like the idea of doing it, but there's two things in the agency world. There's time and money. And yes, I get that I make some money, but I just don't have the time to reach out to clients in the past. So that's why I created the Retro Program. It takes 30 minutes, and I do it over the phone with them, and I set them up to sync up their email, and boom, it sends the emails. And then it's special because the client gets to go to termageddon.com/booking. And then one of me or one of my reps will take the client actually through the process of generating a policy form too, which is nice. No way.
An added bonus for agencies signing up with us. So
yeah. And this kind of is a great segue there. It brings me back to something I really wanted to ask you, which is about, you mentioned your agency, buildthis.com.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a problem with, I find with a lot of SaaS applications, for lack of a better term, like Termageddon, is they actually come from either a product or a marketing background, as in corporate marketing, like how do we make a product and how do we sell it to people. You've actually done the agency thing, sold it, moved through that. You're aware of how the agency owners model, and also how their customers create models as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I bled web design for 7 years. And that was yet again one of the best things, one of the stupidest things I did. And unfortunately, I'm not talking to the right audience right now, but the stupidest thing I did was think that, all other web agency owners are my competitors. And I just would not participate in networking or anything like that. And I know I'm not talking to the right crowd here, because whoever's listening to this is already doing things that I never thought I'd do. So what took me 6 years to realize when running my agency, I learned in one lecture circuit, with you speaking even. Your speech was incredible. And I just sat there thinking, man, I was so naive and stupid, thinking I had to, I don't know, I just conjured up this thought this is my competition, therefore they're my enemy. And it's no, that's just not what this industry is. And then it was just I don't know, it's beautiful. I love the web agency industry. So yeah, that's why I'm enjoying Termageddon. I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of
this is tangent. No, because I remember when it was after the last day, we went to that pub that we seemed to go to every single night, and we were kind of just hanging out, and it was good. It was kind of these kind of conversations that people just have. And that's really what I want to just kind of capture on this YouTube channel, really, because I'm very lucky to have some kind of amazing conversations. And like, you've got a blog as well about your food. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
I check it out, man. I check it out.
Veganhans.com.
Yeah, veganhans.com. I check it out, man.
Right now it's filled with privacy policies because we were testing we were testing in our dev environment a new upgrade. So if you go to veganhans.com right now, you're going to see a bunch of privacy policies.
I'm going to check that out.
All with like Game of Thrones themed names. So like Jon Snow's, ice cream shop. And like,
that's hilarious.
We're doing a bunch of testing this weekend. So I don't think I've updated my personal website.
That's great.
Yeah, it's not a client facing, or it's not a money making website. It's just like where I go to store my recipes.
Yeah, and because we were talking about, you have like you do foraging and the food forest and stuff. And this was all kind of, was that, so tell me, like, this is again way off grid. You sold the agency, but you worked with Groupon?
Yeah, I was one of the first employees at Groupon.
No shit. No. So how long ago was that?
One of the first 100, but yeah.
Wow. So how long ago was that, if you don't mind me asking?
2010, 2009.
Okay, right. So it's around that time, and yeah, you were talking about like you've got this food forest now, and you've moved out of the city. You're kind of living a bit of the...
Yeah, it is something that's very something that's I've kind of grown up and like come to appreciate. I lived quite a few lives, I feel like, in my 20s, and I think there's only so many times you could go to the clubs or something like that before you realize like this does not actually make me feel fulfilled. So doing a lot of reading and a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like that, and just trying to, I guess it's what you do in your early 30s, but try to identify what your values are as a human being. And turns out I love nature. I love being in nature. So yeah, I've kind of 180 degrees shifted myself from eating whatever I want, just unconsciously, just going to Buffalo Wild Wings and having 40 hot wings and then passing out for 3 hours because I'm just being like a little bit more conscious what I put in my body, because that's actually one of the beautiful things about life is you get to think about the stuff and appreciate the stuff. Yeah. And once you become conscious of it, it makes life even that much better. So that's why I do it.
I think there's a big shift as well as like kind of this new wave of business owners setting up these kind of small micro business, and maybe they've got a team of like 5 or 6 people, and there is a huge emphasis around, okay, well, on a Friday, we just don't work, or we're going to clock off at 4, or what kind of food are you into? Like we have at our co-working space has got just a group of people, but I'm surprised at how much health and well-being and fitness and stuff there is. And it turns out that actually just kind of grinding away in front of your laptop, most people don't want to do that all the time. And I'm really glad to see that happening. Yeah.
I think there's a burnout issue with it as well.
Absolutely.
You might think you're I remember I used to think I had such an ego when I used to work 18-hour days. I remember I was like, 12-hour days are for the week, and like running with that mindset, I was killing myself. Yep. I was chain smoking, I was eating like crap. I wasn't working out, and granted, I don't do all of that. It's a practice. You practice, work your way through it. But like, man, the real thing to be proud of is like, hey, I'm successful and I'm putting minimal effort towards it. That's actually that's the beauty. That's when it's really cool. Like, that's when you realize, okay, you're a hard worker. We get it. All right, chill out. Like work for things that make you money, and then prioritize that, and then everything else can just, trust me, it just go to the wayside, and the world won't burn. So. Yeah.
And it's stuff like that level of control. I think you mentioned that you had on your wall, like a harmless solution is the best solution, like letting go of that. Yeah.
One of the best things that ever happened to me, as one of my employees said to me, or said to the team when we had a challenge, like sometimes the Hansel solution is the most efficient available. And I don't know if he was trying to, at the time, to kind of ding me a little bit, like, I got you, but like, I was like, yes, like that, like hit me. Like you have to, you have to prioritize yourself. As you build a business, you can't be a part of the micro. You have to be a part of the macro. Sorry, you got to, like, unless you, or don't run a business. You choose which one you want, but if you're wanting to scale a company, you have to start realizing that you need to be operating on a macro level, making changes that move levers, or move people that move the levers, I guess. I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah, no, that's good. And this is all like, a lot of it's around, and it's also a more, frankly, profitable way to run a business. Like when you begin to
100%.
cut back on, like,
it's the only goal. Only goal. Lately I've been really struggling with when, and trust me, I was a big subscriber to it. Simon Sinek's Why.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
I was a big subscriber to that for a long time, but then it kind of dawned on me, like, a corporation does not have a soul. A human being has a soul. Yeah. So really saying, what is our why? And that's what we communicate to the outer world. That's the way we operate the system of the company. I don't know if I buy that anymore. I think a why is a marketing tactic. It's a very smart marketing move, but don't pretend that a company is anything other than a profit generation center. Let the profits be generated so that you, the human being with a soul, who has a why, can go and do great things with that money.
And this is what I've actually got a video on this coming out on YouTube about why Apple isn't this kind of brand that everyone thinks it is. For that reason, people forget that Steve Jobs had the why. Apple didn't have the why. Apple doesn't have the same why now.
Love that.
Steve Jobs predominantly.
Chills down my back. I love that.
Right?
Yes.
And look at where their technology has gone now. It's essentially, let's just tweak this stuff. Steve Jobs was like, I really like art. I really like technology. Let's bring them together. Hence, things like Pixar and the iPad. That's his why. And Apple was his machine to do it. And yeah, it's super important for you to find it. But your business having a why is not the thing. No one's ever said, oh, well, we're going to put this on the NASDAQ or the FTSE 500 because it has a really good why. I don't give a fuck about that.
Exactly.
So
companies generate profit.
Right.
That's all there is to it. You, the human being, are what's special. Don't make the company special. You are what's special. Yeah. Build a company that makes you profit, period.
And, it's that's really it. Maybe we should come back and talk about this another time, because it is a really, especially the thing around making sales, which is obviously like my thing. And I'm like, if your company is hesitant about making sales, you need to find someone who's willing to drive sales.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very fair. I'll give you my favorite thing in teaching sales. At Groupon, I taught sales. I managed a sales team. I started as a salesperson and moved my way up. So my favorite things about sales is, in life, what you need to do when talking to someone is you need to acknowledge, respond, and ask. Acknowledge. When someone tells you something, you respond and you reiterate what you think they just said. You might be surprised how often you might be wrong and that you're not actually listening, or maybe you just misunderstood the communication. Always tell people, like, I see what you're saying, and explain it, re-explain it, confirm that everyone's on the same page. Then you respond. Maybe they didn't say they liked your product because of X, Y, Z. Acknowledge first, and then you respond being like, maybe you didn't think of it this way. This is why we do it this way. And then you ask a question. And when you ask a question, you keep the conversation going. You're guiding a user through a sales process. And what you're doing is, when you ask a question and when you're done asking that question, you now have the other person speaking, giving yourself a chance to have a mental break and kind of recollect yourself for the next go around. So,
no, I like that a lot. I haven't heard it done in quite that way.
Okay.
But I really like acknowledge, respond, ask. That's really good. I've had feel, felt, found.
Unfamiliar.
Yeah, so you say like, I thought this sucked. I'm like, I totally understand how you feel, blah, 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 blah. So I'm acknowledging it, because you're right. I think a lot of the time people they instantly want to come back with an answer.
Yes.
Most of the time, in fact, I personally believe that most of the time people don't even want an answer. They just want to feel acknowledged.
Dude, yes.
Right?
Yes. And authentically acknowledged. Like, I always think about, do you know the show The Office, but the American version?
Yeah, the American one, yeah.
When Dwight's trying to do sales with women and he's trying to acknowledge, he has that eye stare where he's just like,
yeah.
Like, don't do that. That's not going to work. That's going to, like, the opposite of working. So
yeah, and to take genuine interest. But that's, again, and we've seen this time and time again, I don't struggle for customers because I have a genuine interest in their business.
Yeah.
They go, I don't know, it's kind of dumb. I'm worried about it. I'm like, tell me about it. I want to know. I'm a business owner. I want to know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And half the time, I don't even need to do the response or the asking bit because they then go, actually, I just really wanted someone to listen to me.
And maybe that's the challenge, the throw out to anyone who doesn't necessarily enjoy sales, is that do sales for selfish reasons. I'm just brainstorming here, but maybe you will find value in learning how other people operate their business, and therefore you have now an incentive to ask questions and like ask how people operate stuff. Maybe, I don't know, brainstorm session, but maybe if you don't like sales, that might be a good way to think about it. Think about it selfishly. Like, hey, you know what? I'm going to learn more about how to run my own business successfully if I continuously ask other people questions on how they do theirs and what frustrates them. And maybe every now and then you'll have solutions for them.
Yeah, no, mate, that's absolutely perfect. And that also now makes sense about why you've got the pre-written kind of copy and encouragement copy for Termageddon, right? Because you've got this background of, hey man, I'm gonna show you that here's a few options. I really think you should come on board. It's not necessarily like a secondhand car salesman, like sell hard. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. No. In the copy, we suggest doing an attorney or solicitor.
Yeah.
We suggest Termageddon, or we suggest, hey, if it's not for you, it's not for you, but let us know. That way, the agency has it documented. But that was more so me just wanting to help the web agency. I was just naturally trying to think of a solution to the problem I was hearing, which was I love Termageddon for the present and the future, but I don't love Termageddon for the past. They were saying it differently, but that's the way I was collecting it. I was like, okay, how can I help them then sell the clients of the past as another option? So,
yep, man, I absolutely love that. Hans, it's been really good catching up with you again, man.
Absolutely.
For coming on. How can people reach out to you or get in contact with you or find you?
Yeah. Hans at Termageddon.com, HANS at Termageddon.com, Termageddon.com. And if you're an agency and you don't want to actually talk to me, but do want to register with Termageddon, just go to Termageddon.com and click register and follow the steps. I review every single registration. So I'll review your your registration link. So whatever your email is, just make sure it's your business email. I'll take a look at your website. And if you're a web agency, I'll give you approval for agency access, where you'll get your free install with all your policies that will automatically update forever. No credit card required. And I just hope you like what you see, because I would love to pay you money to refer us to your clients.
Right. That sounds like a pretty good offer to me. I'm obviously going to put all of the links to that in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast, or if you're watching the YouTube video. We'll put that in the notes below, and probably in the transcript version as well. Dude, thank you so much. What are you up to for the rest of the day?
For the rest of the day, I am going to be calling about 40 agencies that have registered over the last 6 days, personally thanking them for registering with us. And then I'm going to probably clean up the gutters so that my fiance, who's the president of Termageddon, doesn't, kill me. So.
Yeah. Priorities. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Man, thanks for coming on. I'll speak to you later.
All right, buddy.
Bye, man.
Bye-bye.